Hello everyone, I'm Xiu-Shen. Thanks so much for the invitation from the FGVC workshop organizers. And today we are going to talk about resource-constraint fine-grained image analysis. Fine-grained image analysis is a long-standing and fundamental computer vision problem. Also, it has become ubiquitous in diverse real-world applications. Okay, let's first introduce the background of fine-grained image analysis. We would like to take the fine-grained recognition task versus generic image recognition task as an example. In traditional image recognition, the categories which we deal with are the coarse-grained, like dogs, birds, oranges, etc. The visual appearance of these categories are apparently dissimilar. Compared with this, for fine-grained categories, they are the subordinate categories of these coarse-grained classes. For example, in the traditional fine-grained recognition task, it is required to accurately classify different species of dogs, like Husky, Samoyed, and Alaska. We can find that the images from these fine-grained categories are extremely visually similar. Furthermore, fine-grained nature also brings the small interclass variations caused by highly similar subcategories, and the large intra-class variations imposes scales and rotations as presented in the right figure. It is indeed the big challenge of fine-grained image analysis. On the other hand, in recent years, deep learning techniques have led to remarkable breakthroughs in the field of fine-grained image analysis. But one of the most representative fine-grained benchmark datasets, that is CVP200, is classification accuracy improved from about 40% to about 90% in the past 7 years. However, while obtaining satisfactory results, modern deep learning methods always consumes lots of resources, like lots of human labors, extensive high-performance computing equipments, massive image data, and also the huge sequence cost of money. Thus, it is desirable to reduce the huge resource consumption of deep learning methods for fine-grained image analysis, especially for some efficient requirement real-world applications. In the rest of the talk, I would like to share the progress of several of our works in resource-constraint fine-grained image analysis, especially on label constraints and example constraint fine-grained image analysis. Okay, now let's move to the first part, that is the label constraint fine-grained image analysis. Labeling fine-grained images is a labor-consuming task, especially for fine-grained objects which always requires domain expert to annotate. In order to reduce the dependencies on massive human annotations, we usually try to produce more data with dummy labels. For instance, we can use classification models to get the dummy label for unlabeled data. Beyond that, there is another solution can reduce the dependencies on labels. That is, we can leverage the pre-trained classification models. Recently, pre-trained models are available and free in our community, especially for the pre-trained models on ImageNet or other large-scale datasets. These pre-trained models have great generalization ability. Thus, based on the pre-trained classification models, we explore the fine-grained image retrieval task under the unsupervised setting. As shown in this figure, it is a traditional content-based image retrieval pipeline. First, for the image in the database, we use some kind of the feature extraction to extract the feature vector to present these images. In the query phase, we utilize the same feature extraction method to extract the query images feature. And then we compare it with the images in the database by similarity matching. Based on the ranking results of similarities, we can get the returned images. As shown, the whole pipeline is unsupervised, and we employ pre-trained classification model to perform feature extraction process. Compared with a general purpose image retrieval, which is shown at the bottom of the figure, and fine-grained image retrieval task processes visual similar objects at the probe and gallery. Okay, for example, given an image of the mallard at the query, the fine-grained image retrieval system should return images of the same bird's species in various poses, scales, and rotations. However, general-purpose image retrieval focuses on searching through similar images based on their similar contents. For example, the textures and shapes of the same one building, which are near duplicate images. Thus, for obtaining better fine-grained retrieval accuracy, we should locate the main fine-grained objects and overcome the disturbance of backgrounds or variations. To meet these challenges, we propose a selective convolutional descriptor aggregation method, which automatically localizes the main objects in fine-grained images and extracts the discriminative representations for them. In our SCDA, only a pre-trained CNN model is used, and we use absolutely no supervision. As shown in this figure, the pre-trained CNN model first extracts convolutional activations for an input image. We propose a novel approach to determine which part of the activations are useful, that is, to localize the objects. These useful descriptors are then aggregated and dimensionally reduced to form a vector representation using practices we propose in our SCDA. Finally, a nearest neighbor search ends the fine-grained image retrieval process. Okay, in SCDA, we propose a simple but effective method to locate main object unsupervisedly. In details, we first add up the obtained pool 5 activation tensor through the depth direction. Thus, these feature maps will become an aggregation map. Consequently, we calculate the mean value A bar of all the possessions of A as a threshold to decide which possessions locate objects. The objects ij whose activation response is higher than A bar indicates that the main objects like birds might appear in that position. This assumption behind our operation is that we assume most feature maps will highlight on the possession of the main objects. Since pre-trained classification model is trained on object-centric dataset, that's by following our method, we can obtain the objectness of the corresponding positions. Okay, that is a visualization of our SCDA location operation. Okay, we can say that the main object can most accurately locate, and there's still some small backgrounds or noisy parts are also located. And we further develop flat field algorithm to discard these small backgrounds or noisy parts, and we keep the main objects, which is highlighted in red. Okay, after locating the main objects, we can get the corresponding useful deep descriptors. And for these convolutional descriptors, we use VLAD fish vector pooling approaches to aggregate the descriptors into a single feature vector. Okay, comparing different encoding and pooling methods on two benchmark datasets, we concate average pooling and max pooling together as our SCDA features. Okay. Additionally, we also use multiple layer ensemble strategies to further improve the fine-grained image retrieval accuracy. Okay, that is fine-grained image retrieval results based on our SCDA method. Okay, except for the label constraint, we always face the challenge that there are few training images in real-world applications. It corresponds to example constraint fine-grained recognition. One of the representative tasks of example constraint fine-grained problems is few-shot fine-grained recognition. The aim of the few-shot fine-grained task is to learn the classifier for a fine-grained category. The birds species in this example are from few exemplar images. We train the exemplar to classify mapping based on an accelerate dataset B and test the few-shot fine-grained performance on another dataset N. Please note that there are no category overlaps between these two sets. Okay, that is a key idea of our proposed few-shot fine-grained model. In each episode, we sample exemplar set E from B by following the meta-learning fashion, which is composed of the subset or a category, and each category contains few exemplars. And the exemplar is other images with red border. In our method, we wish to learn mapping M that map this exemplar into these corresponding category classifiers. And the mapping parameter can be learned so that this category classifier can correctly distinguish the query image. Okay, the whole training object function can be written as follows. Okay, this is the overall structure of our proposed few-shot fine-grained model. It is the first component, that is, we built the representation learning module based on the bilinear pooling method. And on the right, the second component is a classifier mapping module, which is a key novelty of our method. It maps from the intermediate image features into the category classifiers. As aforementioned, the key novelty of our model is to mitigate the few-shot fine-grained problem into a piecewise mapping function in the classifier mapping module, which generates a decision boundary while learning a set of sub-classifiers in a much more parameter economy way. Okay, by experimental comparison, we can see that our proposed few-shot fine-grained model can achieve the best accuracy in the example constraint scenario. On the other side, real-world dataset always have skewed the distributions with a long tail. That is, a few classes, the head classes, occupy most of the data, while most classes, that is, tail classes, have rarely few samples, and which is a natural phenomenon of example constraint fine-grained recognition. Okay, on the right figure, it is original distribution of a naturalist dataset, and that dataset is proposed by Grant and Austin in CVPR 2018, and now it is a very famous benchmark in fine-grained recognition and long-tailed recognition. Okay, in our work, we first discover how the rebalancing strategy work. And in the literature, class rebalancing strategies like the reweighting and resampling are the prominent and effective method proposed to alleviate the extreme imbalance for dealing with long-tailed problems. So we first do some validation experiments to discover that these rebalance methods achieving satisfactory recognition accuracy, or to that they can significantly promote the classified learning of deep networks. However, at the same time, we also find that they will unexpectedly damage the representative ability of the learned deep features to some extent. Therefore, we propose a unified bi-branch network. And the first branch is focused on the conventional learning. It wants to learn unified patterns of the original long-tail distribution. And another branch, it is a rebalancing branch. It is to focus on the tailed data. Our BBM model aims to take care of both representation learning and classified learning simultaneously, where each branch does perform its own duty separately. Okay, and in details, our BBM model is also equipped with a novel cumulative learning strategy. And the cumulative learning strategy is designed to first learn the universal patterns and then pay attention to the tail data gradually. And in experiments, we validate that our BBM model and also the cumulative learning strategy is effective for long-tailed recognition. Now, at the beginning of the talk, we mentioned that a COB become converge on the classification accuracy. Now, it is desirable to propose some novel fine-grained vision tasks, that is fine-grained vision benchmarks. Okay, and one of the most interesting and practical tasks is product recognition in the automatic checkout scenario. Thus, we construct the RPC dataset to formulate this this novel ACO problem. And in our RPC problem, we construct the datasets. It consists of 200 subcategories, and compared with other related datasets in the literature, we can say that our RPC datasets have significant advantages on both the number of images and the number of categories. Furthermore, for our RPC dataset, we also provide different modes like easy, medium, and hard. And also we provide different levels of supervisions, like the weak level, that is a shopping list, and also the strong level, that is a bounding box. For the shopping list, it corresponds to the label constraint fine-grained recognition task. Beyond that, our RPC dataset also derives other possible research directions. To name a few, that is online learning for the ACO problem, and multi-category object counting, and something like the label constraint task is few shot weakly supervised object detection, etc. Okay, as a summary, in this talk I mentioned the resource-constraint fine-grained image analysis, especially on the label constraint fine-grained image analysis and example constraint fine-grained analysis. Also, there are more topics about the resource constraint fine-grained image analysis, like the self-supervision learning for fine-grained recognition and semi-supervised learning for fine-grained recognition, and also some efficient fine-grained models which can run on the resource constraint embedded devices. Okay, furthermore, for the audience who are interested in fine-grained image analysis, they can refer to our survey papers, which is posted in the archive. It summarizes fine-grained image analysis in the following 4 aspects, that is fine-grained image recognition, image retrieval, fine-grained image generation, and future directions. Okay, that is a reference of the talk. Okay, thank you so much, and more resources can be found on my homepage.